What exactly is the secret to unlocking innovation? Why are startups able to do it and the mature companies struggle? At Venturis Inc., we believe that with a combination of product thinking and a mindset, you can achieve this at a mature company just as well as a startup. Join us on Venturis Stories as we demystify this through conversations with industry leaders. This is the Venturis Stories with your hosts Gaurav and Arjun.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the Venturis Stories. Our last episode, as you recall, was about our PM squared framework, where we illustrated and talked about how we've applied that to our own journey. It received a lot of really good feedback, to be honest, and thanks to all of you listeners who tune in, support us, share feedback. It's critical to help us keep refining and being iterative of our own process. Inspired by all that, here's another conversation from the heart from the two of us, Gaurav and Arjun, for you. It's the two of us in this episode talking about things we love, and today it's about our favorite things of sport and innovation. Two things happened last week. One, the French Open completed, and the T20 cricket matches are ongoing right now for those folks who enjoy cricket. French Open saw a new champion. A new champion came on board, and the curtain is slowly but surely falling on the erstwhile ones like Rafa and Djokovic, who are probably on their final tour. We see the momentum shift, and this is again, as we look at business and innovation, we see the momentum shift towards next generation. For lovers of cricket, we witnessed a really impressive comeback by the India team against, guess who? Pakistan, and a nail-biting group stage match. More to that on that will follow in the next weeks, I guess, and Gaurav will, of course, tell you about his cricketing journey. But these two events, kind of made us think and start writing and scratching notes. Gaurav wrote a blog on this, and he created something called the Talent Mindset Framework. We'll talk more about that today. We love to draw parallels of sporting mindsets and businesses and innovation. So here's a new rev of this one called Venturis Talent and the Mindset Framework. So Gaurav, I'm going to turn it back to you, and you shared a blog on this recently. Help us set some context on this, and then we'll dive deep into it.
Yeah, so for our regular listeners, as you covered, they all know we love to talk about lessons from sports world applied to business. And for this iteration, it all kind of started a few weeks back. Louis Vuitton had released this video of Rafa and Roger at the top of some snow-covered mountain as part of their brand campaign. And for anyone who hasn't seen that video, we would highly recommend seeing that video. It is actually great to see these two champions who we love talking from the heart about their journey. And a few things stood out to us when we were listening, when we watched that video. One is their passion to keep improving all the time, which aligns very much with focus. Then there was this constant thing about learning, improving constantly, which is and being adaptable, learning from failures and things like that. And even though tennis is an individual sport, they both talked about their teams and how they love being associated with the wider teams. So that then got us thinking that this really aligns to now most of our listeners know this well, the Venturis mindset, that is focus, adaptability, mojo, and engagement. And we talk about the mindset all the time on our podcasts. And as you know, we often get asked on why do you talk about the mindset so much? Isn't actually having core product skills really important for building products? And that, of course, is absolutely it is. However, talent is not enough. I think, Arjun, you talked about a book that you read recently, that talent is not enough. And that's what we believe. And as luck would have it, just over this weekend, Roger Federer delivered a speech at commencement for Dartmouth, where he actually states talent is not enough. The message that he stated was effortless is a myth. And this coming from Roger, who's been over and over called that he's effortless. So that's kind of what, and we wrote this blog, Talent Cross Mindset blog, before all of this. So it was great to see that validated by what Roger said over the weekend. So this blog effectively that we wrote and the framework that we have developed is a 2 by 2 matrix of talent and mindset. And of course, there are 4 quadrants. The top right hand is the quadrant where everybody wants to be, where champions like Rafa and Roger are. These are the champions. And just like in sports, actually, this is where the successful businesses reside. This is where you will find the Apples of the world who keep building great products. And Apple just came out with another great announcement as part of their WWDC in terms of Apple Intelligence, which we can talk about more of that in another blog or another podcast episode. So that's, and then of course there are other quadrants like veterans and rookies and bench warmers. Uh, so that's we had been working on this more or less ever since we've launched Venturis. We've been talking about this talent and mindset combination and how to apply lessons from sports in the business world. Uh, and we felt this is a great time to share this further and our views. So that's what the framework is all about.
And just to go to, I know people get bombarded with information here. Just to refresh the audience in terms of memory, what's the 2 by 2? What do we have on the x-axis and what do we have on the y-axis? Why does the top right-hand corner define champions and what the rookies and the
Mhm,
benchwarmers,
mhm.
etc.? But how do you define this quadrant that you have in mind?
Yeah. So the way we have laid it out is so the x-axis is mindset, y-axis is talent. You could flip it if you choose to. Uh, and the top right hand is you have high talent and you
Yeah.
have a very strong mindset. You are very strong on both. That's what is needed to be champions. And the bottom right hand is where you are extremely talented uh, but you are stuck in a situation of fixed mindset either because of you are in the company environment that is in a fixed mindset or because of you yourself being in a situation where you're not able to really adapt. And I think that's where, okay, if you're in that mindset, and that's where you find typically a lot of we have been there when like if you are most entrepreneurs find themselves stuck here in terms of being in big companies where you really want to innovate and you feel most companies, actually big companies, have tons and tons of talented people, so there's no shortage of talent. That's where you
Yeah.
have to really do something about the mindset.
Yeah. And last week or week before last, we talked about agency as one of the other elements to it, and
Hmm,
this is
hmm.
a great kind of follow through of both having talent and mindset, and it's an and function, not a
Yep,
if
yep,
or it's
absolutely,
not a
yes.
it's not an either or function, so to speak. But that's amazing. I mean, so Gaurav, that's really it's if you think about it, I'm just trying to bring it back to context in terms of business innovation and
Hmm,
sport. I was watching that French Open, and most of you would have noticed it. The stadium has one line on the sidelines. It says, "Victory belongs to the most tenacious."
hmm.
And folks who don't know this,
Yeah.
Roland Garros is the stadium which he was an aviator. He was not a tennis player. He was an aviator, and the original quote was by Napoleon. But as usual, I digress on these issues. But thinking about your comments and the matrix that you are defining, I do believe that the entire game is where the champions focus on. You have to not just look at
Mhm,
one vector, but both vectors, physical conditioning and the tenacity and the mental makeup. A few favorable line calls will always help, but
mhm. Yep.
that entire game has to be brought to the table to really have a combination of talent and mindset. All of us in our day-to-day jobs, assignments, need to think about this for a moment. Taking in the conversation with a customer who needs an additional feature or needs perhaps 10 more
Mhm,
or
mhm.
doesn't like one, whether someone in your team needs an additional coaching or investors who want to share the belief that you have, the narrative that you possess, and you need to bring that entire conditioning to the table and more, and keep at it. But let's push this further and pick up on one quadrant. High skills and talent, but stuck in a fixed mindset organization or circumstances. What's the way out? We've seen this, we've heard this. What's the way out of this one?
Yeah, so good question. In our matrix, we call this the veterans or the plateaued stars. And like we were talking just now, you and I have kind of been there when we have been in a big company, we have been trying to innovate. And we've succeeded or not succeeded. Sometimes the problem is with the mindset that you have. Sometimes it's about the circumstances. We talked
Sure.
about high agency,
Sure.
whether you are in a situation where you are equipped with that mindset in the organization. And this is where, if you, for our listeners, if you recall, a couple of episodes back, we talked with Jim Verquist and we covered this framework
I remember
called
that. Yeah.
Intrapreneur's Edge. That is precisely designed for this segment where you are an entrepreneur stuck in kind of this high talent, fixed mindset environment. And how do you go to the champions quadrant? And that is what, in the business context, if by applying that, we believe we can take these entrepreneurs from being veterans, plateaued stars, to operate at champions level in the context of business.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because, as with anything else, an idea, a very cool new idea, is born every minute. It
Yep.
requires an ecosystem, it requires a perseverance, and it requires a growth mindset to move away from the existing fixed one that you're referring to. Um, we've also said this in prior episodes. We've both been in startups and early stage outfits. Sometimes we see these rising stars, so to speak, and the rising stars are people who have immense talent, motivation, and hunger.
Mhm.
What's the playbook? And this is again a very important part of our conversation. How do you take folks like that or ideas into that and make them consistent champions? How do we take that kind of methodology and push it forward?
Yeah, so rising stars in sports are actually entrepreneurs in business, is the equivalent. Entrepreneurs never honestly lack the mindset. They are embarking on this journey, which is sort of almost foolish most of the times, but they possess the mindset and the belief, and they typically possess this mindset of taking in failures and treating them as success, which is the secret to the growth mindset. So typically, they don't lack on the mindset aspect. However, because they are typically early in journey, and they may be too much enamored by the technology, that's where the frameworks around product thinking and all of that comes in. And that's where we believe that our years of experience of seeing what works, what doesn't work, and the frameworks like what we covered in our last episode, the PM squared framework, the product market fit framework, and starting with the purpose, product, market, money, that can really help somebody who's in this quadrant where they have the necessary mindset. They just need the right kind of guidance and coaching. And with some of our other frameworks like PM squared framework, we believe we can help them go from rookies, rising stars, to the champions and be successful in business.
Totally. The last, I would say, 2 years or so, the whole market, I would say the market at large is focused on these large tech companies and how they have become champions in their domains. And whether you take Microsoft, you take Apple, you take Amazon, these
Mhm.
folks have tried to push that entire needle in terms of both creating the right talent and
Mhm.
providing a mindset, an ecosystem for to flourish, and the market has rewarded them with their outcomes. I think that's a great way to kind of think about it. I think you and I need to kind of really push this methodology as well as the way that we're thinking about it into more and more definitive use cases and companies and how they can look to evolve and make this go forward. Um, so my, I think you've put in a lot to pack in. You've got the PM
Mhm.
squared framework. We have our famous acronym FAME. Now this new talent and mindset framework. So there's a lot to pack in. I know there's a lot of questions that keep coming back, and I'd welcome. I'm sure Gaurav and I both welcome this every day. That keep asking us questions. It's very interesting to use these in pertinent examples, whatever companies you're working at. But we love doing it, and we love listening to your feedback. So just keep it coming in as we advise companies and individuals in the last weeks and months that we have been doing so. Continuous iteration is both a journey and a destination, and we really
Mhm.
believe this. So continuous. You've heard some of our other speakers talk about iteration and iterative frameworks. Reach out to us and ask us questions. Stay tuned, and we'll talk soon again.
Yeah, one thing before we go. So we
It's like
talked
the
about
Steve
growth.
Jobs. One more thing, just one more thing.
Yeah. So we talked about growth mindset. You mentioned Microsoft amongst a few other things, and I think it is well known. One of the secrets of the Microsoft turnaround and the Satya Nadella theme is uh, this book, Carol Dweck's Mindset, and there is specifically related to our conversation about sports and growth mindset. Chapter 4 in her book, I would highly recommend everybody
Totally.
reads that. That is pretty much that book talks about the same thing, that it's not just the talent, it's mindset. And I mean, the timing couldn't be better. We'll put links to all of this in the show notes. Roger Federer's commencement speech, everybody must watch it. It is a must watch, as well as the Louis Vuitton ad commercial campaign with Rafa and Roger. We'll put all of these as notes, besides the links to our frameworks. So there's a lot to unpack here. And as Arjun said, reach out to us. We love hearing feedback as well as answering any questions. So there you have it. That was the Venturis Talent Cross Mindset Framework. If you are an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur and any of this resonated with you and you would like to hear more about how we can partner with you on your journey, reach out to us. You can book a discovery call from our website. That's all, folks. Till next time.